Hello, class. Today we'll be talking about the objective of firms. So, what this means is what does the firm aim to do when it is operating its daily business? Okay? So, before we start, I want you to imagine that now you own a big company. You are a CEO of, let's say, ABC Berhad. Okay, so what is your objective? What will you do? What is your objective for the firm? I want you to pause and think of it. When you're done, click play. Okay? So, these are the things that you may come up with. First of all, the most common thing is, one of the most common, these are the four most common things that firms do. One is they maximize profit. I'll go into details later. Number two is they maximize sales revenue. Number three is they maximize sales. Okay, and lastly, we call it satisficing profit. It's satisficing, not satisfying. Satisficing profit. Okay, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4. These are the four most important things that you will see. Okay, so next, we'll start with profit maximization. So, what does profit maximization mean? Profit maximization is an objective that firms go for if they want to maximize profit, the money that they earn. Okay, so it's very common sense that when you want to maximize profit, your total revenue minus your total cost is maximum. Right? I mean, even when you are doing, if you are selling something, you want to you know that you can maximize your profit when when your total revenue minus your total cost is the maximum. Okay, because revenue minus cost equals to profit. Profit is the money that you earn in the business. Okay, so this is the most common thing that you know on how to know that firms are maximizing their profit when total revenue minus total cost is at its maximum. Okay, and a side note is total revenue is actually price times the quantity sold. So how you interpret the graph is when total revenue equals when total revenue minus total cost, the gap between them is maximum. The firm will produce at the quantity at that line, at this line. Okay. Now the second thing that firms will do in order to maximize profit, or another way to analyze whether the firms are maximizing profit or not, is when the marginal revenue equals to marginal cost. Okay. I will not go into detail why is this so, because I will do it in the next lesson. Marginal revenue, I'll just let you know what is marginal revenue and marginal cost. Marginal revenue is the revenue, the additional revenue that you earn by increasing your output by one. Your output by one. Marginal cost is the additional cost that you incur by increasing your output by one. Okay, so I will go into detail why is this the case, but for now you just need to know that a second way that firm maximizes profit is when the marginal revenue curve, is downward sloping, intersects the marginal cost curve. So at this intersection point is where the firm maximizes profit. So the firm will produce at this quantity and sell at this price. Okay? Next is what we call sales revenue maximization, where firms maximizes sales revenue. And firms can achieve that when the total revenue is maximum, or when the marginal revenue is equals to 0. Okay, so if you look it in the graph, this is the marginal revenue curve. Hold on. This is the marginal revenue curve. Okay, this is the sorry, there's a mistake here. This is the total cost curve, and this is the total revenue curve. So, first thing, when the total revenue is maximum is when it is at its turning point, meaning this point. because if it's at its turning point, this is the point where the total revenue is maximum. At any other point is of course lower than this point. Okay, and another way we can see it is when the marginal revenue is equals to 0, meaning the marginal revenue intersects the x-axis. Okay, why is this so? Because when the marginal revenue is equal to 0, remember the definition of marginal revenue is the additional revenue that we get when we produce an additional unit of good. So if it is equal to 0, we assume that it's not equal to 0. Okay, so let's say, okay, if the marginal revenue is not equal to 0, if the marginal revenue is, let's say, more than 0, or we call it, or we make it equals to 1, firms can actually increase its revenue by producing one more of the good, right? Let's say now the firm is producing 10 units of the good and is earning a total revenue of 50, and marginal revenue is equals to 1. So the firms can actually increase its production by 1 to make its total revenue equals to 51. Right? The same applies inversely. Now let's say the marginal revenue is less than 0 or equals to -1, and the firm is producing 12 goods with a total revenue of 52 and marginal revenue of -1. What firms can do is firms can reduce the output by 1, reduce from 12 to 11, so make it 11, and the total revenue will become 52 minus -1, which is 53, which is higher than 52. So that is why when marginal revenue is equal to 0, total revenue is at its maximum. Okay, so now we continue. So you understand this part. Just to summarize, sales revenue maximization is when the, when the total revenue is at its maximum, or when the marginal revenue is equal to 0. So why might firm actually sacrifice its profit and focus on sales revenue maximization? Well, one reason is, first of all, the firm may be a new firm. Like for example, ABC, your firm, ABC company, may be a new firm selling carbonated drinks that wants to compete with Coke or Pepsi. And if you go into the market with a high price, focusing on profit, then you will lose. So one strategy that you might adopt is to reduce your profit and try to brand yourself. And because the price is cheaper, you can also capture the market share, meaning more people want to buy from you. Understand? This is one of the reasons. The second reason may be that like the management salary for the firm may be linked to sales. For example, the management, the CEO salary is 20% of the sales revenue generated. So if that's the case, then the management will definitely focus on increasing the sales revenue, right? But this is actually, if this is the case, the management is actually in conflict with the shareholders, because the shareholders, if you guys don't know, the shareholders' money earned is actually linked to profit. It's a percentage of the profit that the company generates. Okay. Of course, there are other possible reasons which may result in the firms wanting to maximize sales revenue, but that one, we leave it to you to think of it yourself. Next is on sales maximization. So first thing, sales maximization is different to sales revenue maximization. Okay, the difference is here. Sales revenue is the price times quantity. This is the sales revenue. Okay. However, for sales, it's just the quantity. It's just the volume of sales generated. Okay. So, in order for that to happen, is when the firms, they produce until a point where the total revenue is equals to the total cost, which is this point over here. Total revenue is equals to total cost, meaning the money earned is equals to the costs incurred. Okay, we call this point the break-even point, because after this point, if the revenue, if firms produce more, the firm is actually making a loss. The firm is actually making a loss. Okay, because if for example we consider if firms produce more than this output, this is Q1. If firms produce at Q2, the total cost is higher than the total revenue, which makes profit a negative. Okay. Now, why might companies want to maximize sales? Okay, there are several reasons. First of all, is because maybe the firm is a state-owned company, meaning the firm is owned by the state, so the firm has social objectives to fulfill. Like for example, let's say general hospital. Let's say a hospital, a state-owned hospital. The hospital, they may be charging less than the private hospital, because they want to provide affordable healthcare to all the citizens or all the people in the state. Okay, so that is one reason. That's one of the reasons why the firms may want to maximize sales. Okay, the next one is the firms may want to deter new entrants to market, meaning they want to prevent new firms from entering the market. Okay, and if the firms is making a loss, or the market is making a loss, then firm will not want to come into the market. Okay. Now next is if the firms want to squeeze out the smaller firms from the market, meaning for example a big firm and there's a lot of small firms inside the market. Okay, now this firm is making a lot of money, and the firms want to eliminate competition. So what the firms may do is the firms may produce more. The firms produce more. The firms may produce more, so that the other firms could not stand the competition, meaning they could not afford to make a loss, and therefore exit the market. Okay. Previously I mentioned that sales maximization occurs when the firm produces at a point where total revenue equals to total cost, and it will not produce more than that. Actually, there may be cases where firms produce more than the break-even point, meaning they are making a loss. But this is only possible if the firm has actually other bases to get the funds from, or get the money from. For example, a state-owned firm may get the money from the state. Okay, or a big company may get the money from other businesses that it owns. Okay. Now, next is satisficing profit. Okay, this is the most common case that we can see in firm, the behavior of firm. So, what does satisficing profit mean? In general, satisficing profit means the firms are doing a little bit of everything. Okay, a little bit of profit, a little bit of sales, a little bit of sales revenue, and a little bit of making the company happy, stuff like that. So in satisfying profit, what the firms do is the firms make a reasonable profit to satisfy its shareholder, meaning they don't fully focus on profit, but they make sure that they generate enough profit so that the shareholders are happy. This is the first thing, and the rest of the profit is used for the rest of the profit is used to satisfy other groups in the company. For example, they may give a salary rise to the worker, or they may try to grow the company. They may try to put the money in and grow the company, growth of the company, or they may even try to do some community social responsibility to make their image look good. Okay, so there are actually other types of objective that the firms may go for, but these are the four main things. Just to a quick add-on is are some of the cases where the firms may look or the firms may focus on. Number one is maybe the firms want to focus on CSR, community social responsibility, which is this is not explainable using a graph, but a big portion of the money will be allocated into CSR. Or the firm may be looking to maximize its workers' happiness. This is the case where the money is used to maximize its workers' happiness. Like for example, Google spends a big part of the money in doing so. Okay, so we conclude this lesson on the objective of firms, and thank you.